Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Quartz and Courage podcast. I'm your host and spiritual sister, Kelsey Indigo, and I believe the crystals can be a gateway to a happier life, but simply collecting them isn't enough to rear real results. Deep inner work, a commitment to overall wellness, and the courage to confront yourself are key. So, if you're ready to go beyond asking, what crystals do I need for love, loss, heartbreak, mental clarity, etc., 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 and start asking yourself real questions like, how can I attract the love I want? Who am I? And what are the things I truly value and want out of life? And how am I actually going to bring them to fruition? Then I'm happy to say you found your safe space. On this podcast, I'm going to take you on a journey through my own personal trials and tribulations, triumphs and setbacks, and the lessons I've learned in between. We're going to address things that are happening in pop culture, things I see on TV, things I read in books and magazines and blogs, and we're going to discuss them and really go deep into how we can work on our self-awareness above all else and really grow into the people we want to become. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee, your popcorn, whatever it is, and let's get into this episode. I'm so glad to have you here. Hey, what is up, y'all? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Quartz and Courage podcast. So in this one, I really want to talk about what it means to be spiritual but not religious, because I think that it's a term we're hearing more and more of nowadays. I think that there is this big shift of people who are moving from religion and into this space of spirituality. And I think spirituality can be very vast. It can be very huge and filled with a lot of information. And for some people, it can be difficult to navigate. And so to me, spirituality is essentially just you focusing on yourself, developing yourself so that you can reach your highest potential and that you can fulfill whatever purpose it is you believe, has been placed on your life by a higher power. I think that spirituality is different for each person, right? What it looks like for me may not look the same to another person. And the difference in religion is that, and I want to preface all of this by saying this is my personal opinion. You guys are free to do, your own research and figure this out for yourself and come to your own conclusions. But what I believe to be true is that religion is more of like organized, and it's more so like there are a set of rules or laws, or there's like some sort of code that typically the people who follow that religion, they believe in. And while I'm not someone who is religious, I touched on this in the first episode. I still respect religion because I think that it can give people like a structure that a lot of people need in life and a lot of people desire in life. Religion is a very easy structure to follow. I have experience in Christianity, and I have some experience in Buddhism and understanding, the principles of Buddhism and the principles of Christianity. And what I see in religion is that, there's typically like a guideline that you follow, like the do's and the don'ts, the stories that are told that kind of set the tone and the foundation for how you are supposed to move through life if you want to call yourself, a part of that religion. Spirituality, on the other hand, is more so you have free will and free reign to explore and to interpret God however you see fit. Your relationship with God is built how you see fit. And I will say that for me personally, my shift from religion to spirituality happened probably like in my teens or early 20s. If I had to pinpoint it, I can't pinpoint for sure, but it was somewhere like very early on in my adulthood, because for me, and I'm going to try to speak 100% clear with y'all, like I'm not trying to insult anyone's religion. I'm not trying to insult anyone's religious beliefs. None of that. Like, I'm strictly speaking from personal experience. And my goal is only to share my personal experience so that more people can be uplifted and be motivated to pursue knowledge of self, so that you basically get closer to God and you get closer to your purpose and your passions and living a happier life. That is my only goal. What I say may not work for you. What I say may not resonate with you. And I think that that's totally fine. But what I say will resonate with some people. And those are the people I'm really speaking to. So I just want to apologize to anyone I may insult, offend. It's not intentional. It's just simply me sharing my story. And y'all, I'm sorry if my breathing and my speaking sounds off. I am getting over a cold. It is not fun, but we are here. I was raised to experience the Baptist side of Christianity and the Catholic side of Christianity from, both of my parents. And when you're a kid, you are taught things about religion and you believe them. And for me, as I got older, I started to question a lot of things, because while I was believing what was told to me, it didn't feel right. It was going against what I was feeling internally. And once I got to an age where I was able to kind of think through these things and think for myself, I was like, well, something's just not adding up. Like, it doesn't feel natural. And when I experienced the loss that I experienced, that I talked about in the first episode, and I set on like this journey of self-discovery and personal, development, self-improvement, I had to like face these things. Like, it was something I couldn't really deny anymore, because in a time in my life where I needed, something, a belief or comfort to get me through a tough time, a traumatic event in my life, what was taught to me didn't feel natural. With time, it just started to feel like, okay, this isn't working. And so I slowly got called into spirituality. And when I say I got called, you guys, whenever you hear me say I was called or you're being called, I mean, you're being called from your inside. Like, there's something internal, whether it's your conscience, whether it's your intuition, something internally is pulling you and telling you to move into a different space, to try something new. And so I was being called internally to seek out something different, to just try something different. And it is my belief now, I can say this now, that I am a spiritual person, that I don't think God wants a relationship that is filled with confusion. For me, God has been clarity, God has been comfort, and God has been fairly easy. It's just this admission that I've had to get over. I've had to admit to myself that I don't believe what has been taught to me in religion. I no longer want to continue to learn in this space and operate in this space, because it doesn't feel natural to me. What does feel natural to me, and what feels good, and what, I believe is God pulling me, is having the free will to explore, with the understanding, right? And some of the concepts of Christianity still follow me to this day. Like, I think one is like, do no harm unto others, right? So I move through my spirituality with my own sort of code of conduct, and it is to not cause harm to other people, intentional harm. I feel like we hurt people in the process of just making decisions for ourselves and living life that we don't mean to cause that, but it just happens. So it's doing no harm to people. It's not lying, right, to get your way. It's not manipulating people to get your way. And it's always trying to make the best decision for yourself, and a decision that will have the least amount of impact in a negative way to other people. right? So those are just some of my sort of commandments or tenets or values and rules that I place on myself as a spiritual person. And so that feels natural to me. And I uphold myself to those standards and those values more than I've ever upheld myself to the standards or values of religion. And I think that what the theme in my life that I've realized is, when I left corporate to go pursue more creative work as a makeup artist, as an esthetician, as someone in LA, as a YouTuber, right? I realized that I have sort of this rebellious spirit. I have a problem when someone is trying to place like rules or a structure on me and I don't have a say in that structure. And I feel like that's sort of what corporate is, and that's sort of what religion is. I feel like religion is you follow these things and that is it. And I know that not everyone who follows religion follows the structure and the rules of that, whatever religion it is. I know this for a fact because I know people, who are religious and they don't live by these things. Call them hypocrites, whatever you want. But I've always been someone who's been anti that. Even as a teenager, I would challenge my parents a lot by like kind of going against the rules. I wasn't a terrible child, but, I've made some mistakes along the way that questioned, their authority or tested the limits. And while I don't know if this is like a good explanation, I'm just simply explaining my personality. And so I think that religion was probably never something that was going to fit for my personality and for the way I naturally am. These behaviors, I feel like, while yes, shaped by my environment, there's a large part of it that is, I believe, to be natural, that has been given to me by God, the structure of my brain and how I think and, what makes me happy and what makes me tick. Like, I feel like these things, while it is influenced by environment and relationships, I think a lot of who I am essentially is given to me by God. And so I felt like I was doing a disservice to God by not honoring those characteristics and those traits, my need to explore, my need to go out and learn about different things and find what works for me. If I wasn't honoring that, then I wasn't honoring myself. And that was true again in my career, and it was true in my spirituality. And so, I think that was the main part of it for me. But then as I started to do my research and get more information, I realized that even in the spiritual world, there is some sort of like structure there, even when it comes to crystals or when it comes to manifesting, when it comes to building your intuition, when it comes to, the sound therapy, the sound baths, the vision boards, like all of these things are like tools that I feel like fall under spirituality, which in a sense sort of makes spirituality another form of religion, right? But this is where I'm starting to have some pull, like some tension in the spiritual world. And that is, partially why I wanted to create this podcast, to talk about it and to get it out, and to share my thoughts on it. But I just am a firm believer that you can make your spirituality whatever you feel fit to make it, whatever you see fit, whatever you feel is right for you. Don't get caught up in what you read online and trying to follow some sort of guideline, because I promise you the beauty of it is that you can go out and explore and learn. You can adopt, different things from different religions. It is okay. Like, as someone who has lived in fear of dishonoring God by saying I'm not religious, like just to get to the point where I can verbally, say that, to put into words, I am not religious, was something I had to overcome because I wasn't always proud of that, right? Because we live in a society where we're pretty much taught that you are a part of a religion or there's something wrong with you. You know, you're doing something wrong if you don't honor God, if you don't believe in Jesus. And as someone who has tussled with that and had to deal with like a lot of inner turmoil when it came to religion, and I've said those words to God, and I feel more connected to God. I feel a stronger relationship with self and with God. I feel like it is now my duty, the duty on my life, the responsibility that God has given me, partially, right? Not the whole purpose of my life, but I feel like because I've been able to reach a relationship with God where I feel more in alignment, God has given me this assignment to now speak on it as a way to influence more people and to encourage people to not be afraid. Don't be afraid of spirituality. Don't be afraid of exploring yourself. Don't be afraid to go against the norm. Don't be afraid to go against what your family believes, what your family wants for you. Don't be afraid to go against what the masses think. It is okay. It is not the end of the world. You will be okay, and you will find better on the other side of it. And so I encourage anyone who is battling, these inner thoughts and hardships to just ease up, let it go. It's cool. You're all right. I think that there is beauty in your need for more, your need for answers, your need for exploration. And the more you allow yourself to explore that, the more you'll start to find the mental relief that you seek, because I do believe that is a big part of it. When you are in this space of trying to walk that line between religion and spirituality and you're not sure which way to go, there's a tension that builds in your mind. There's a tension that builds in your spirit. There is spiritual warfare that builds within you. And I don't believe that that is what God wants for us. I believe that God wants us to be closer, right? God wants us to have a close-knit relationship. And so why would God want you to be full of uncertainty, be full of unexplored curiosity? That's your whole point in this world, is to explore. We are explorers, we are learners. We are educators, we are artists, and it's not until you allow yourself the freedom to create, right? The freedom to explore and the freedom to create that you really start to step into who you are, that you really understand who you are, what your gifts are, how you can best use those gifts to, make your mark in this world. And making your mark in this world doesn't have to be some huge sort of contribution. It can be in your relationship with your child or with your spouse or with your parents or with whoever. It can be a singular thing that you're working on. It doesn't have to be a massive impact that you have, on a whole population of people. So don't think of it on that scale. Start to really scale down your thinking and figure out what questions it is that you have burning on the inside and start to address them one by one. Start to look for the knowledge that you seek. Get the information. Google, I Google everything. Googling whatever it is you are curious about will lead to blogs, videos, or whatever that will lead to other resources. Look on Reddit. There's a lot of message boards out there on Reddit or whatever of people who are exploring just like you are, just like I am. So I'm just sharing, the ways in which I do these things and seek information, but it's through looking at what's already out there that has been published by another human being that is going through, the human experience, because that's all it really is about. It's how are we all sharing our own experiences in order to help the next soul, You know what I mean? Like, even when I think about the Bible to me is a book of stories, written by people who have gone through life and they've had these experiences. Whether these experiences were real or not, I don't know. I wasn't around to witness it. I'm simply looking at the Bible as this book of stories that someone wrote. And there are lessons in those stories that can help you make better decisions in life, that can help you have better outcomes in life. So if the Bible, is helpful and reading these stories are helpful, then you can also find that current day on the internet, through reading people's blogs, through watching people's vlogs. Like, to me, it's almost like we are living in the present day Bible. We are the writers of the present day Bible, if that makes any sense. Like, when I think about, how long ago was the Bible written? However long it was written ago, think of that amount of time from now in the future, right? We are the people that the descendants of us are going to want information from, right? They're going to want to know what we lived through, what we experienced to get us through. The same way we want to know what our ancestors experienced. We want to know our history as human beings and how humans, dealt with certain things and what's right and what worked and what didn't, so that we can maximize our time. Because that's really what it's about. We all just want to maximize our time. No one wants to waste time. And the more time, I was wasting trying to force religion on myself instead of forcing or allowing myself the freedom to explore, right? Allowing myself to accept that I don't have to accept religion, that I don't have to accept these things over here, and that I can explore, and that at the end of the day, God will still love me, right? I will still have a relationship with God. I will let go of the fear of, if I don't believe these things, God won't love me. If I don't believe these things, I'll make him jealous. I'll make him angry. I had to let go of that, right? Because it was causing too much tension in my brain, right? Too much anxiety in my emotions, and it was causing me to lose time. I wasn't able to focus on my gifts and my value in the world and really put my time and energy towards that, to do God's work and whatever that looks like for my life. So we're really all just trying to free up time. So the most important thing we can do is learn from history. And history doesn't have to be 1 billion years ago. History can be learning from your parents. Part of your spirituality can be looking at your parents' life, looking at your aunties and your uncles' life, looking at your siblings' life, looking at your great-grandmother's life, your grandmother, your grandfather, right? These people who are still in our lives, talking to them, hearing their stories, taking their lessons and applying it to our life, right? To improve our own self. That is part of religion. In my mind, that is part of spirituality, right? I want to be a part of that, where the sheer desire to learn, the sheer desire to share, with the main purpose of helping people move through life a little bit easier and getting through adversity a little bit faster, so that you can know your values, learn your gifts, learn how to harness them in order to create something that is going to help the next person. That's what it's about. That to me is the sole purpose. And that is the space I operate in. And I just wanted to share that in this episode to anyone out there who is struggling to give themselves permission to just take that leap and to not be afraid. Because I promise you, as long as you are trying your hardest to improve yourself and you're operating from a space of love, and like I said, not wanting to do any harm, not causing any harm, not moving dirty in this world, right? Not manipulating, not being conniving, not being bitches. You know what I mean? Like having courage, not being like just people who don't know how to control their emotions, don't know how to understand emotions of other people. You lack empathy. Like, if that's what you're about, then I'm not talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, I want to give courage to the people who are the ones who are thinking about standing up, rising up in your own life and doing things a different way that people may not agree with. That is okay. And you owe it to yourself to explore that. So I hope I'm making sense. I got to cut this short because my baby boy is taking a nap and he's going to wake up soon. And I got things I need to do. But I wanted to come on here and definitely just make this video because it was on my spirit to do it, to say it. Like I said, y'all, it's a scary thing. Spirituality can sometimes be a scary thing. I am partially scared and just making this, not filming this, but then having the courage to post it. So if you're actually watching this, give me a thumbs up, please, because it took me a lot. It took a lot of courage in me. It took a lot of strength and a lot of self-love and a lot of saying no to fear for me to even post this episode. And I hope that it touches just one person. I will see you guys and talk to you guys in the next episode and the next YouTube video. And remember, you have everything you need. You have everything you need to go out into this world and win. You just got to go out and get it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.